Storytime about the girl that catfished her boyfriend so she could break up with him for cheating. There was this girl who was raised up in a Christian household. All her days through high school, all she did was focused on her studies. She wasn't interested in boyfriends like her other peers, but rather she studied hard so she could pass all her subjects and go to the college of her choice. Sundays after Sundays she went to church with her brother, but she didn't give her life to Jesus fully yet. It used to be her mother, her brother and her that used to go to church, but her mother went overseas to work and left them with their father.
Their dad goes to a different church from them, so she normally had to go to church extra early before church even begin because her brother is a musician in the church and he normally go earlier to practice for service. She didn't like to get up early to go to church, but she still did out of respect for her brother.
As time goes by, she lost interest in going to church and she did her exams and was very successful to the extent where she was awarded by her high school for high performance. Although she lost church in going to church, she had a very close relationship with God, one where she communicates with Him about everything and give Him the honor and glory. After the summer she went to a pre-college just to gain more experience in her field of study before officially going to college. She was now 17 years old and was ready for a boyfriend, so as mentioned earlier she prays to God about everything, so she prayed and told Him that she's ready for a boyfriend. While praying she always prayed out loud, and so maybe the devil heard the prayer. Now the devil hearing the prayer is a very important point for the rest of her story. She was very intentional about what kind of male she wanted in her life. She told God she wanted a guy with pretty eyes who is handsome, stylish, kind and a little gangster. She also went on to promise God she will never give anyone her body until marriage. There was this guy in her community that really liked her and she liked him too, but didn't want to date someone in her community, so she turned him down and waited for the guy she prayed for. When she started the pre-college, which is a boarding school, she didn't know anyone there because it was in another parish. Upon arrival she was stressed and cried when she was settled in her dorm room. She felt as if she had made the wrong decision by going to that school that is so far from home. It's the first time she was so far away from her family, and then she had to live in a room with complete strangers who soon grew to be her close friends.
She went by days, and as the days went by she started making friends. But one particular morning she told her friends to go to the cafeteria where breakfast is served before her. She was indecisive about whether or not she wanted their breakfast or to make her own in her room. She got herself ready for her 8:15 class, then decided to rush to the cafeteria for breakfast. She collected her breakfast, then sat by herself and eat, but a little before she was finished eating, there came a guy at her table. She wasn't paying him mind, because she is the kind of girl that will not interact with you if she doesn't know you. The guy was light skin in complexion, with beautiful light brown eyes, and a very handsome face. He had on a white t-shirt and a black pants, and a pair of black shoes. As she was about to get up, the guy got up and leave his food, so she waited until he came back because she didn't want to leave his food without supervision. Even though she did not know him, something told her to wait until he came back before getting up. As he came back, she got up, and he stared her right in the eye, and she looked back at him.
"You leaving me already?" he said with a smile on his face, and she just said yeah with a straight face and walked away.
She and his close friend was in the same class, so he started asking his friend about her, wanting to know more about her. She passed him on the corridors and acted as if she didn't have a moment with him. As time went by, other guys tried to get her attention, but she ignored them. She wasn't interested in none of them because she was waiting on the person she prayed for. One of the evenings when she went to the washroom to do her laundry, she saw him coming from a distance and started to stare at him and said to herself that he reminds her of her cousin because he walks with a swag as her cousin do, as well as how he's always dressing stylish. When he reached to the laundry room, he pretended as if he didn't see her, and then when she was about to hang out her clothes on the line, he approached her. "Do you want help?" he asked her. "No, I'm okay," she replied. He then followed her to the line and they both started talking. He introduced himself to her officially. "I'm Digimon. Are you the girl that I met in the cafeteria?" he asked, even though he knew it was her. "Yea, I am," she answered. "What is your name?" he asked with his hands in pockets as he looked at her. I'm Artishanae, she replied, while pinning up her clothes piece by piece. He stayed there with her as they became acquainted, and when she was about to leave to go back to her dormitory, bids her goodbye. See you later, he said. Okay, she replied. She liked his whole demeanor and how he looked, but it wasn't really hitting her that the guy possesses the physical features that she prayed for. I mean, he have pretty eyes, he's stylish, and she could tell he is street smart based on how he talks and walk. She wasn't interested in him at all at that time, but as time went by, her interest grew, but she wasn't willing to get in a relationship with him because of how the other girl gush over him. She thought he was a player based on how he looks and how other girls always trying to get his attention, even though he doesn't really pay them any mind. One of the night when she went to the multi-purpose hall to do assignments with her classmates, he was there with his friends. He was a very popular guy in the institution, and everyone always want to be around him. Wherever he goes, there is always an entourage behind him, and girls always calling to him by his alias name, which is Vendetta or Russian. As Artishanae was there, words started to go around, and she soon hear that he is one of the most brilliant guys in the school. Now when she heard that, it sparked her interest, and she wanted to know him more. When he realized she was in the hall, he went over to her and grabbed a chair, put it close to her, turned the back of the chair to her, and sat facing her. Good night, he said while smiling.
Hi, said Artishanae. How are you? He asked. I'm okay. How are you? She asked as everyone around them started to stare. Artishanae felt the eyes looking at her and didn't like the unnecessary attention, so she did everything she could to try and cut the conversation short, but it didn't work because the guy was interested in her. She acted as if he was distracting her from doing her assignments, but he was curious to know what her assignment is about. Let me see what you're doing. Maybe I can help, he said. Here it is. Seems like you're a popular guy around here. Why is everyone looking at us? She replied awkwardly. That's just how people are. You're pretty. I guess that's why they're staring, he said while staring in her eyes. Wagwan vendetta, said a guy as he walked past him. Mi de ya enu, he replied as they bumped fist. She didn't like the attention, but something about him was pulling her, and even though she ignored the other guys, she actually wanted to pursue this one. She pretended as if she didn't have any interest in him, but deep down she was indeed interested. At the pre-college, there is a curfew, so students have to go on their dorms at 9 p.m., and if they are found loitering around after 9, then security would report them, and after 3 strikes their program would be deferred. This institution is a very strict institution. Males cannot go on female dorms, and females cannot go on male dorms. When it was soon 9, everyone would make their way to the dorm gates wherever they are in the institution, so he walked her to her gate and bids her goodbye, then went to his dormitory, which is called Boys' Town. Now, when Artishanae reached to her dorm, she changed from the clothes she had on to her nightwear, then went to the bathroom to brush her teeth. Time went by, and she got closer to the guy until he asked her to be his woman. She told him that she is Christ-centered, and she doesn't believe in sex before marriage. Nothing is wrong with having sex before marriage. A man read the Bible ena, and dem just put that in there if he stop we from do certain things, he said, as he tried to convince her it is not a problem. Artishanae is a girl that cannot get peer-pressured or influenced to do something she is not interested in. So she told him that if he can't wait until marriage, then he should leave her alone. She should have realized from then that man sent from God wouldn't act in that way, so she should have run, but she blinded by his physical features, and because he looks like the guy she was praying to God for, she agreed to be his girl. She agreeing to be his girl was just another method Satan used to form a weapon at her. She thought he was sent from God at the beginning, but I guess she prayed too loud, and the devil heard and sent her himself in the flesh. The relationship went on, and in less than a week the guy told her he loves her. Now she should have seen that as a red flag, because how can you fall in love with someone you don't even know? She didn't believe him, and she told him she didn't believe him. How can you fall in love with me so quick? You're lying, and I'm not going to say it back because I do not feel that way about you yet, said Artishanae as she tried to fathom what he said. He tried to convince her that he was being truthful, but she didn't believe him. In about 4 months in the relationship, He started asking her for sex, and she told him what she told him from the beginning, that she wasn't willing to have sex outside of marriage, and he told her if she's not going to have sex with him, then he's not going to stay. Artishanae didn't want it to seem like he had sex with her and leave her because that is the culture of some boarding school, so she didn't break up with him. She was angry that night that she didn't speak to him for about 2 days, and then he came begging her to talk to him. At that time, she started to question whether or not she had made the wrong choice or picked the wrong guy, because God wouldn't send her someone who tries to go against everything God stands for. That guy tried to influence her to sin against God, and it was really getting to her head. She kept her virginity, and she didn't have sex with him. Soon, they became the dream couple of the institution. People started to praise their relationship and compliment them on how good they looked together, and soon Artishanae fell in love with him. One of the night when he was following her to her dorm gate, he held her face and kissed her. That was her first kiss, and he didn't believe her because he claims she was a good kisser. "You're lucky," she said, as she explained to him that he is the first guy that got so close to her lips and was smiling. Feeling good in himself that he got someone who is a 100% virgin. Even her lips were. He then whispered in her ears that he has never had sex before, and he wanted to have sex with her. Now, anytime Artishanae hears about sex, she gets upset, so she just walked off leave him. He was a pathological liar because he told her he was a virgin because he wanted her to feel more comfortable opening her legs for him.
She was serious about the no sex before marriage thing, and no one could let her do otherwise. He stayed with her even though he said he wouldn't, because he realizes that Artishanae brings more to the table than just sex. She's smart, she motivates him, she inspires him, and she always pushed him to be greater. He didn't want to lose her, and she realized that, so she flipped the script on him. She charmed him with her personality, and soon he was so in love with her that he couldn't afford to lose her. Whenever they got break from school, he always wants her to visit him at his house, but she didn't because she knew what he wanted, and she wasn't ready to give him. He was her senior, and it was soon time for him to leave the institution and start working. There were times when he didn't have any money, and she shared her things with him, and he fell in love with her even more because of that, because he was aware that she has options, but she stayed with his broke ass out of love. That girl is a keeper, and he knew that. There were times when guys at the institution would make comments like, "This girl boyfriend is lucky to have her. I wish she was mine," and he would hear these things. Soon he left the school. When they were speaking for 1 year and a month, she missed him when he left, as she couldn't focus. As time go by, he asked her to visit him, and one weekend she decided to go. When he bought snacks and juice to keep her throughout the 3 days. He always cooks for her and tell her how beautiful she is and how lucky he is to have a woman like her. He treated her like a queen when she visited him. They kissed, but she still wasn't ready to have sex with him, and he was being patient too. She left his house and went back to school the Monday morning, and he gave her money to take back with her. After a year and couple months at the institution, she finished with the highest GPA in the entire institution and left that institution for college. She was supposed to go to college in January, but she wanted him and her to go together, so she waited on him, but it worked out that he wasn't able to go because he didn't have enough money to do so. She was devastated, but she knew what she wanted in life, so she went without him. After going to college, she realized how toxic and manipulative he was. He would start arguments with her for no reason, then tried to convince her that it's because they are not seeing each other and he's miserable because he misses her. She should have taken the red flag sign seriously and dumped him, but she tried to make the relationship work because she loves him. He started going days without calling her, and she started to grow out of love with him. Whenever he did anything to hurt her, she normally tells him that another strike, but he didn't believe her that when he hit the 5th strike that she would do whatever it takes to leave his ass. He started lying about his whereabouts, and even when she could hear other female voices in his background, he would lie and say he's home and there's no females around him. Things went on like that for a while until she became just as toxic as him. She allowed him to turn her into a toxic person. It got so bad to the point where she would see him calling her and she would ignore his calls for 3 days straight, then called him back and accused him of cheating and asked him who have his attention that's causing her not to hear from him. Even though she was in an institution with guys that had money and few of them were interested in her, she stayed loyal to her toxic boyfriend who lies about things he doesn't need to lie about. She was frustrated with him and she really wanted to get rid of him, so she came up with a brilliant idea to buy herself another SIM card and text him like another girl. Her intuition was already telling her he's cheating on her, and she could hear females in his background, but she didn't have any proof. She didn't want to break up with him without a solid reason, so she went on Instagram and looked for pretty dark-skinned girls. She found one that stood out to her and found her page. When she got on her page, she screenshotted her photos and cropped them. After that, she downloaded GB WhatsApp so she could use 2 different WhatsApp on the same phone. She then signs up for GB WhatsApp using the new SIM card that she bought. After signing in, she placed the photos she screenshotted on the profile picture. She didn't hesitate to text him because she desperately wanted something to leave him for. He didn't reply at the same time because he was at work at the time she texted him. It was after work that he replied to her message. "Hi, who is this?" asked Digimon.
"Somebody that finds you very attractive," replied Artishanae.
"Stop the playing. Who is this?" he asked again. "Okay, fine, since you insist. We both share a mutual friend," replied Artishanae. "Who, which friend?" asked Digimon. "Don't even worry about it. She showed me your picture and I like what I saw, so that's why I'm texting you," said Artishanae. He didn't respond to her message, so she texted him the next day. She was pissed he wasn't falling for the prank because it is what she was using to sink him. As much as she thought he was being unfaithful, he wasn't so easy to get at, so she knew she had to bring her a game if she wanted him to fold. The next day, she texted him good morning, and he looked at the message and didn't respond. After her classes ended in the afternoon, she texted him again, and he didn't respond until in the night. "What is your problem?" he asked out of annoyance. "I want you. What don't you understand?" From that, she replied, "You want me? You don't even know me," he said as he responded hastily. "Well, I don't know you yet, but I would like to know more about you." She said, "Send me a picture of you." He said, "Okay, here you go. I know we will look good together." She said, "You're beautiful. What is your name?" he asked as he stared at her photo. "My name is Nema," she said as she made up her face because she was just starting to think that she might be wrong for thinking he is unfaithful. The fact that he was responding and asking for photo means that he might be interested in cheating, and that really made Artishanae angry. She was really hoping he didn't fall for it, but this just shows how thirsty and stupid some males can be. He was accusing her of cheating while she was being very loyal, yet he's texting a girl he doesn't even know. "You look good," he said. "Thank you, and I believe I'll look even better with your fine ass," she said. "When can we link?" he asked. "You're moving really fast. Calm down," said Artishanae. "Well, I like what I see, and I want to see you in a person," said Digimon. "You'll see me soon if you prove to me you're worth it," she replied. "Well, actions speak louder than words. Come here, let me show you that I'm worth it," he said flirtatiously. "Don't you have a girlfriend?" she asked. "No, I'm a single man. I used to have a girl that I loved so much, but she went to college and left me. I guess she felt like she's better than me now," he said without a flinch. Now when Artishanae read that text, every nerve in her clenched. She was so angry knowing that he's lying through his teeth effortlessly. She has been very loyal to him, and even though he's so toxic, pessimistic, and manipulative, she still stayed with him, and there he was telling who he thinks was another girl lies on her. "Oh my, sorry about that," she said. Tom over her. "Can we talk about something else?" he asked. "Like what?" she asked. "Like what do you do for a living?" he said. "Well, I'm an accountant for a major firm," she said. "Accountant? Okay, I see you," he said. "What do you do for a living?" she inquired. "Well, I'm an extension officer by profession and a lover boy at heart," he said. "A lover boy?" she replied while shaking her head.
They continued to talk and started flirting with each other, but he didn't know he was setting himself up for failure. What he was enjoying was about to turn into his worst heartbreak. She drawed out the prank for 4 months, so she was talking to him as Nema, and he was not paying the realtor much mind. He hardly texted the realtor, yet he was always on phone with the catfish. To make the prank even realer, she allowed her friend to talk to him as Nema because he would know her voice, and she didn't want him to catch on. Her friend played a crucial role in her catching him in the act because she sent him voice notes and speak with him on the phone to get certain information he wouldn't send over text. Normally, when her friend was talking to him, she would record the call so Artishanae could listen to the conversation afterwards.
After she couldn't take it anymore, she asked him if he was seeing anyone else, and he lied and tell her no. She sent him the voice notes and screenshotted the messages between him and Naima and sent it to him and told him to explain. The guy tried to get himself out of the situation by saying he knew it was her and he was just playing along with it. Artishanae already knew he was lying through his teeth. He tried to convince her he knew it was her, but she wasn't having it. She really wanted to break up with him, so nothing he said meant anything to her. She finally broke up with him after going back and forth with him about the cheating, and ever since then he has been trying to get back with her.
"Leave me alone, you loser."
He tried everything he possible could to get her back, but she wasn't interested in him no more. He called her crying, saying his heart is broken and he can't live without her. He apologized for the way he treated her and promised her if she gave him a second chance, he would never do anything to hurt her again. But too bad, he wasn't Artishanae's type anymore.